Hello friends, welcome back to our video lecture series on course title Fluid Mechanics 2. In this lecture we are going to discuss about the specific force diagram. In the previous lecture we have discussed depth discharge diagram and where we have plotted the relationship between depth and discharge by keeping energy as a constant. In this lecture we are going to do the same, but here we are going to plot the depth versus force diagram. So let's start. Before starting, we will compute which kind of forces which are going to generally act if we are considering flowing channel. So first thing, we will consider a channel reach, and in that we are going to define our two sections, section 1 and section 2. So those are the two sections which I have considered. Let us consider a channel having a bottom slope. So let us define this bottom slope as theta. So channel making as an angle theta with respect to the horizontal. So this is our theta. Now if I am considering section 1 and section 2, so what are the forces acting in between section 1 and section 2? This is my section 1 and this is my section 2. So what are the forces which are going to act in between section 1 and section 2? The first force which is going to act at section 1, that is pressure force, going to act in direction of motion, and section 2, another pressure force which is going to act in opposite direction of motion, that is pressure force at section 2. Now another force which is going to act at the channel bottom, that is the frictional force, and that is going to act where the fluid in channel will come in contact with the surface, that is frictional resistance, and going to act in opposite direction of motion. Now another force which is going to act in downward direction, and that is obviously a weight component of the fluid which is available in between that section 1 and section 2, that is going to act vertically downward. So if I am considering channel slope is having theta, now in that case I can resolve this weight component in two directions. One component is acting in along the direction of motion or direction of flow, and another component acting in normal to the direction of motion or normal to the bed of the channel, and obviously it is going to make an angle theta with respect to the verticals. As I am measuring my angle with respect to vertical, my horizontal component will become theta, sine of theta. I can write down it as sine of theta because cos 90 minus theta is sine theta. So I can write down the horizontal component of this weight is W sine of theta. So all those are forces which are acting in between section 1 and section 2. Now all those forces will be determined by using momentum principle. So what is the momentum? Momentum is given by mass multiplied by velocity, and whatever the momentum of the flowing water will be measured with respect over the time, that is per unit time, that is given by per second. So momentum per second. So whatever the momentum in the channel in which discharge is Q, so momentum of the flow passing through a channel section per unit time can be given by the equation rho Q multiplied by V. How it is coming? So if you see here, it is mass multiplied by velocity per second, so I can simply write it as m per second multiplied by velocity. So I am writing it as mass per second multiplied by velocity. So what is our mass? Mass can be computed by using density. So what is density? Density is given by mass upon volume. So I can write down mass is equal to density multiplied by volume. So I can write here mass is equal to density multiplied by volume and divided by unit time, that is per second. Now what is this volume per second? That is meter cube per second. I can simply write down it as Q. So it is becoming as rho multiplied by Q multiplied by this remaining V. So that's what our equation is, rho multiplied by Q multiplied by V. Remember this mass flow rate, mass of fluid flowing per second, which is also denoted as momentum per second. So rho Q is the mass of fluid flowing per second and multiplied by V, that is momentum of flow per second or per unit time. Now according to Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum on this particular fluid mass, that would be given by the that would be equal to the resultant forces which are acting on this particular fluid element or fluid mass what we have considered in between section 1 and section 2. So whatever the rate of change of momentum in between section 1 and section 2, that would be equal to what are the all forces or resultant of all forces or summation of all forces which are going to act on this particular whatever this particular water volume or fluid mass which we have considered in between section 1 and section 2. So we are simply going to write down the equation for it, what are the forces, and we are going to equate it with the rate of change of momentum in between section 1 and section 2. So let's proceed. So here we are writing the equation for it. What is our equation? Rate of change of momentum in between section 1 and section 2, that would be given by momentum at section 2 minus momentum at section 1, that is rho q v2 minus rho q v1 is equal to all the forces which are acting in between section 1 and section 2. So what are the forces? P1 pressure force at section 1 minus P2 pressure force at section 2. Negative sign indicates that it is acting opposite to the direction of motion, plus W sine of theta minus frictional force, again negative sign indicating that it is acting opposite to the direction of motion, where this theta is the angle of inclination of the channel bottom and measured with respect to the horizontal what we have defined earlier. So all those are this is the equation. And if I am considering for the simplification, if I am considering those channel sections over very small length, so if I am considering those length in between those two sections is very small, in that case whatever the theta can be neglected, because slope of the channel which is not going to change over the small length. And if I am considering that theta is equal to 0, in that case if there is no theta, so there will be no resolving component of this water. If there is no theta, so there will be no resolving component, horizontal component of the weight, so this weight component will be 0. So if I again I am considering small reach, in that case what are the frictional forces which are acting along the bed of the channel, those are also negligible. Now in that case we can simply write down our equation as rho q v2 minus rho q v1 is equal to p1 minus p2. So this is what simplified equation where we have neglected weight of the fluid and what are the frictional forces which are acting along the bed surface of the channel. Now we can simply write down the equation for this p1 and p2. So if I am assuming this pressure distribution in the channel is hydrostatic, in that case by using law of hydrostatic we can simply write down the equation for P1 and P2 as rho g multiplied by area multiplied by z bar, where this A is the area of cross section and this Z is the vertical depth of centroid of that area below the surface of flow. So this is what our similar equation what we have discussed in the fluid mechanics 1 where we have discussed the law of hydrostatic, where the pressure is given by rho g Ah bar. What we have H bar was the location of the centroid of the area which is immersed, horizontal area which is immersed in the static fluid. So by simply applying hydrostatic law, or by simply assuming pressure distribution is hydrostatic, and we have computed the pressure forces at section 1 and section 2. So simply hydrostatic force is going to show you that your pressure is going to increase as depth is going to increase. So here it is simply your pressure is going to increase as our depth of flow is going to increase, or we can say it is y. And this is what the similar equation, horizontal surface, horizontal plane surface immersed in the liquid. So we have simply defined the pressure forces at section 1 and section 2, and our equation, by putting those values, our equation what we are getting here, rho q v2 minus rho q v1 is equal to rho g a1 z bar minus rho g a2 z2 bar. Now I can simply write down this v2 as q2 q upon a. So I can simply replace that v with the q upon a. So my equation will get slightly modified here. Rho q multiplied by v2 minus rho q multiplied by v1 can be written as rho q multiplied by, sorry, here it is not necessarily, I just simply done some small mistake, q2 and q1 in between that. Anyway, no problem, you just make it correct. Here it is q2 and here it is q1. So I'm just simply defining it as rho q1 square, that is I've just simply replaced it with the q upon a. So as it is v2, so I am simply writing it as q2 upon a2. So here it is q2 rho q square upon a2 minus rho q1 square upon a1 is equal to rho g a1 z1 bar minus rho g a2 z2 bar. So I can simply take this a1 z1 on one side with the q1 a1, and I can simply take this q2 a2 with the a2 z2. So by writing that in the same form, so I will get the equation q1 g a1 plus a1 z1 bar is equal to q2 square upon g a2 plus a2 z2 bar. So this is a Now if you look at this equation, the both side of that equation, both side of this equation, okay, the both side of this equation are analogous to each other, and hence I can simply replace this whole equation on the one side with the F. Now what is this F? F is this force, because this right hand side term also representing the force which are acting at two different sections, and both are showing the analogous, that is mean that opposite to each other. Now this equation consists of two terms. Now if you see here, the first term consists of the flow passing through a channel per unit time, flow passing through a channel per unit time per unit weight of the water, and second term is the force per unit weight of the water. Now those both terms representing the force, that is one along with the momentum also representing the force per unit weight of water, and second term is also representing the force per unit weight of water. So this is what our this whole term is representing the force, and that's why it is becoming the addition of two forces, and that's why it is known as specific force, which is the force per unit weight of the water, and which is the sum of those two terms, q square upon Ga plus A Z bar. Now this term, by looking to our previous equation, this term can be written as F1 is equal to F2, means that the specific forces in between section 1 and section 2 both are equal, but under which condition? When weight of water and frictional forces are neglected. Force of friction and weight of water, all those forces are neglected. In that case, whatever the specific force in between two sections is equal. Now we can simply plot a curve for this particular equation by considering this equation. So we can simply plot a curve for the given channel cross section and discharge. The specific force is going to depend on only a depth. So by keeping this Q constant, depth of flow constant, and for the different value of Z, we can simply plot the curve in between Z bar and force F. Now as my Z increases, obviously force goes on increasing, and by plotting this curve, whatever the curve we will get, that is specific force curve or specific force diagram, which is the curve between depth versus specific force. Now for computing the minimum or maximum specific force, we are simply going to differentiate this equation with respect to the depth of flow. So what we will get here, so by differentiating this equation with respect to the depth of flow, so if I am considering depth of flow is y, and if I am differentiating this equation with respect to depth of flow, in that case obviously we have considered this q as a constant, so it will remain outside the derivative. So what is derivative of 1 upon a, that will be given by minus 1 upon a square multiplied by dA upon dy. Here it is derivative of first term, and derivative of second term, derivative of a multiplied by z bar. So if I am keeping this z bar as a constant, so here it is derivative will become a. Now by simply putting this dA upon dy is equal to t, I will get the final equation for this given condition, that will be equal to q square upon G is equal to a cube upon t. By simplifying our previous equation, we can simply get the equation q square upon G is equal to a cube upon t. Now this is our what equation we have got during the depth discharge diagram, and this condition is going to represent the critical flow condition. So what we can say that our specific force will be minimum at this particular condition. Now if you see here, whatever condition we are getting, and this condition going to represent the condition is going to represent the specific critical flow condition, that is equal to Froude number, and its value is equal to 1. That is the equation, and with respect to the value of Froude number is equal to 1, and obviously this condition is going to represent critical flow, and obviously whatever the specific force at this critical condition is minimum. And this is what the specific force diagram what we have plotted with the increasing value of depth. If you see here, with the increasing value of depth, obviously the specific force is slightly decreasing. If you see here, and as depth of flow decreasing, obviously the specific force values also goes on decreasing, and it will come to the value of minimum at the critical flow condition, and after that it will further goes on increasing. So specific force will be minimum at the critical depth of flow. And those are the this is the relationship between critical flow and specific force. Hope you understood this. Remember this, and this is this equation, the same equation we have plotted in our previous video lecture. You can also go through it, so you will get better understanding about the specific force diagram and depth discharge diagram. Those are the references which I have used while preparing my presentation. Thank you for watching.